Well, their history is very ripe with other oil companies that were trying to compete with Rockefeller in the day, and how badly they got treated. Morning, Carol.
Good morning.
Hi, Carol.
Morning, Carol. I know you're oil company obsessed, but yeah, there's so many more wrinkles to copyright law than oil companies. But
Well, no, I was just describing the.
yeah, right. I
Yeah.
think Tom is noticing it's 8:01. I'll shut up.
Well, my laptop had died and I just got back on, so I'm not quite ready yet.
So
Ah,
Independence Day for me meant independent from technology, independent from the credit system. uh,
I've had a couple of scams over the last couple of years, and I've had to get a new credit card, which means I have to go back, and I think there's probably 25 or so many accounts that I have to start all over again, getting all those credit card changes made. It's just a headache.
Stan, I've had three or four of those in the last, well, not recently, but when I was traveling on the road, it was, I figured it was an annual occurrence that's why I had so many credit cards, because two or three or four of them would be hacked. I'd be homeless, sleeping under a bridge with no hotel. And yeah, I've been hacked more ways than a kaleidoscope, you know. And you never really get used to it. You know how to deal with it. You just get angrier and angrier and angrier.
have you come up with any useful mechanism you can tell us about to help?
Vigilance.
Define vigilance.
Meaning people that check their credit card statements and their bank statements two, three times a day. And there are people that do that because they've been burned. It's like people that go around and sniff, sniff, sniff for fire, right? Because they survived a fire once or knew someone who did or whatever. Yeah, vigilance. But, well, I mean, the main thing is, and choose your credit card company wisely, one that bothers the living bejesus out of you with security alerts, because makes it very hard to hack. My favorite credit union, if I'm traveling or go online and use it at an unknown whatever number, it ain't gonna happen. And I go, that's cool. And then they'll send me a text and say, hey, you can try it again. I go, never mind. I know you're looking after my money, so am I. Yeah.
Yeah, that appears to be. I have one that is even wary of me when I'm not at home.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my famous trick. I'd go on the road and forget to put on travel alerts. Boom. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I can't get nothing, you know. So I always kept cash in the glove box if I was driving.
Yeah. Does anyone have any experience with these sort of companies that are advertised?
They are all scammers, and they are worse scammers to me. Yes, I have multi experience with them. They're just
Like
taking,
the people who
I mean, like
help
LifeLock,
with identity fraud?
LifeLock, it's an insurance policy. If you think insurance is a good bet, then give all your money to LifeLock. But yeah, I'm not convinced. Yes, there are people that have been saved by LifeLock, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I don't know, because I have never been hit that hard for that much. But no, I mean, they peddle fear. And there are many old folks who are buying fear like there's no tomorrow.
That's why I'm asking, you know.
Of course, I know you are. Well, I tend not to be afraid, but that's just me, because I always fantasize I got a couple of cruise missiles pointed in their direction just in case, Yeah, but I mean, yeah, you feel like Don Quixote sometimes, but
Very rarely.
no, I mean, I do
Well, I
sometimes.
need to get started here.
Yep.
I think I finally got all my stuff back. So,
Yeah.
So I'm going to be talking today mostly about nuclear power. I started a couple months ago talking about different power sources and comparing them and so forth. I'm going to concentrate on nuclear today. I was actually considering doing hydrogen, but Tom did a good job on that last week. So
Thank you.
I'm doing nuclear.
Tom,
So
do you need any videos?
I have videos. I think I'll be able to run them from here.
Okay.
So let me pull up my PowerPoint here. Okay. I gotta get back to there.
Eric, how do you hold your camera? You seem to be in a reclined position. I've often wondered, do you have a special stand for your camera?
No, I just lay it on my laptop on my chest,
Oh, okay.
and the camera's built into that, and it's in the top of that.
I don't even notice you breathing.
Oh, I hope I am.
Zombie cam?
Oh,
Okay. Everyone see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about energy futures. There's a lot of possible sources of energy for electricity. And this is a list. I'm going to be down here at the bottom with nuclear energy. So I showed this chart, this graph a couple months ago. It's basically a graph of designed for investors to indicate which types of energy sources are the best investment opportunities. Back 15 years ago, solar was not a good bet because it was very expensive. But since then, it's gotten much cheaper. This is electric costs according to data from Lazard. Lazard's an investment type of firm. So this LCOE, the levelized cost of electricity, shows which are the most efficient producers of electricity, basically.
Could you go back to the previous slide? Yes, thank you.
You have a question on that?
No, I just wanted to finish reading it.
Oh. Well, it's not that important. Basically, I wanted to show you the lines on the graph itself. So it's some of the costs of this of the various of any particular technology over the lifetime divided by the amount of energy that gets produced by that
Okay.
particular.
The conspicuous thing I don't see is hydroelectric.
That's true. There's no hydro here. And another thing is the thermal solar for some reason ends at 2019. Thermal solar is like the reflecting mirrors that focus sunlight on something and create heat there, which usually runs a turbine then. So anyway,
there was a big place in California that closed down a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that could be part of the reason that orange line stopped. But the green line is nuclear. And you can see it was in pretty good shape 15 years ago, but compared to everything else, it's gotten expensive. It's a bad investment now. And that's probably why until just recently, for at least the last 30 years, there have been no new fission reactors to create power. So just wanted to show you that.
Tom, I noticed that wind is slightly below solar. Does that include, I mean, I've always thought solar was cool because it doesn't have any moving parts, whereas wind, you can see the units fall apart and burn up and so forth. Does that wind being low include the cost of replacing those towers and keeping them maintained?
Well, the costs that are included in this formula are investment expenditures. That's, you know, to build it and that kind of stuff, and maintain it. Operation maintenance. So
Yeah.
this is to build it, this is to maintain it. This is fuel to run it, basically. In the case of wind or solar, there's really not much there. And then that's divided over by the energy that's generated over the lifetime.
All right, so it's factoring in maintenance. That's probably what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't want to spend much time on that. Just show you that as of now, nuclear does not look like a good investment. But I'll get into some detail which might change how the outlook for that. Okay, so phases of power production, there are several phases that need to be considered.
Dean has a question.
Okay, I want to get through
Eddie.
this
Yeah, real quick, define investment. Investment in common sense, the future, investment for making your grandkids rich.
That's for people investing in that technology, putting money down.
Exactly, which is not always the best for the future. And of course, dams, that's a long-term investment, you know, forget about that's why it dropped off. But right, that's for people, not people wanting to save the planet, people wanting to make money
Right.
and build wealth while the planet dies.
Right. That's what
Right.
that's what that formula is about.
Right.
That graph, basically.
Yep.
Right on.
Well, yeah, that's the society we live in. So basically power generators produce AC or DC. AC is what you get out of turbines, alternating current. DC is what you get out of basically solar or wind. Well, not wind, that's a turbine too, but solar or hydrogen gives you DC. A lot of things actually use DC. Most electronics use direct current. Most everything else uses alternating current. So if you look at nuclear, it's kind of in a category of its own, not listed as a fossil fuel or a renewable, because there's a limited amount of fuel for nuclear power. So it's not really renewable, but it is currently, as of 2 years ago, it was providing about 19% of the power for the United States. Currently, there are, I believe the number is 94 nuclear reactors producing power in the United States. That number is down from what it was like 30 years ago. I talked about coal a couple months ago, I guess. So I don't want to really go through this, but this is the types of things you need to consider when you're looking at any particular technology. You know, what happens during extraction, what's used up, what's left over? What is the cost of doing all those things in time and money? So here's something. 92% of the mine coal is used to create electricity. It's not used for heating. But that use has dropped because it's no longer economical, which you can see on this thing. Its cost has come down somewhat, but it's still, oh, that's the wrong one. This is coal here, the black one. This actually, this line here is a gray line. This is peaker gas. In other words, this is gas, natural gas that's used only to fill in when the demand is really high. And so you don't expect that to be cheap because it goes off and on. But gas is probably the best thing to do that with at this point. Let's get back to where I was. Okay. So the contribution to electricity generation in 2023 was only 30% of what it was in 2001. So coal is really dropping off. There's no point in trying to revive it. It's very dirty. It's and it has actually, compared to most other technologies, kind of low energy density. So you're putting in a lot of work to get not that much energy out. So now I want to get into nuclear. Basically, all the reactors that we have right now are large fission reactors. 93 of them. Here in Minnesota, we have 3. One is at Monticello, and 2 are at Prairie Island, down near Red Wing. And let me see if I can find out where I am here. So, actually, even though our nuclear power capacity has been going down over the last couple of decades, the U.S. still produces the most nuclear power than any country in the world. France, 75% of their power is generated by nuclear, but they're a much smaller country than we are. So we produce more nuclear power than any other country. This units 3 and 4 at Vogel in Georgia were the only ones that have been built in the last ones that have been built in the last 30 years or so. Unit 3 was completed in 2023 and Unit 4 was completed in 2024. And I'll get into a couple more details about that in just a minute. But anyway, well, generally, building those 2 reactors at that location had huge cost and time overruns. And that's not unusual in that industry. So problems like that, plus disasters that have really soured the public on nuclear power, have kind of cut back any investments in that area. On the other hand, nuclear does have the advantage of not producing carbon. So it's, compared to fossil fuels, it's very clean. It does, of course, have radioactive waste, but that's a different type of problem that we have to deal with. Okay, how nuclear works is it drives turbines. Basically, it heats up water to produce steam and drive turbines, or pressurized water to drive turbines. Basically, all the ones that exist in the United States are light water fission reactors. So ordinary water is used both as a coolant and a moderator. A moderator is what slows down the neutrons so that they, when they hit an atom or a nucleus, they're more likely to cause it to fission and produce energy. If it's too fast, it won't do that. Okay, here's a couple more details about those new Vogel reactors. They started in, I believe it was 2009 was when construction first started up on them. They took nearly 15 years. Number 3 was completed about a year and a half ago, and number 4 was completed about a year ago. Together, they produce 2,400 megawatts of electricity, MWE. And that's pretty big, about 1,200 megawatts each. Basically, all the reactors that exist in the United States produce over 500 megawatts of electricity. In fact, the smallest ones in the United States currently produce a little over 500, and those are the 2 at Prairie Island in Minnesota. Okay, now I have a video that we can look at that talks about nuclear energy, and it's kind of optimistic about it. So I wanted to show that one. So I'll have to stop sharing this. And
Tom, quick question. I just brought up a map to look at the Prairie Island nuclear facility.
yeah,
I'm seeing one. Are they both in the same location?
even in the same location, yeah.
Okay.
You should see 2 different stacks though.
Well, I'm looking at it. Google has not done the 3D modeling. All I have is a flat photo, but I think I see there's 2 stacks, yeah.
Okay. Let's see, here, I gotta get there. Now I can see what I'm doing.
Aging reactors, energy prices.
I think this is the one I wanted. Okay, so let me share this. So that's a pretty good summary of the current state of nuclear power that we're in right now. Basically, it's really expensive, a lot of maintenance, ongoing costs, as well as construction costs. And people are pretty wary of investing in something like that. But there are alternatives in nuclear power that I'm going to get into next. But first, I'll take some questions, I guess.
I just wanted to point out that I've also seen a briefing about another small nuclear reacting company in Copenhagen called NuScale.
Yes.
So there's
That
Kairos.
was mentioned in one of the videos coming up.
I thought it was interesting that they were claiming they were doing a small modular thorium uh, molten salt reactor in Oak Ridge, which, as I recall, already had one back in the 60s with Alvin Weinberg, I think, the developer of that. There was a first molten salt reactor, thorium reactor in the Oak Ridge location.
Yeah, yeah. Thorium actually was being pushed several decades ago as a way to create power from nuclear power, but uranium won out over thorium at that time. But thorium is making a comeback, I think. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. Dean, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. And of course, the economics, and of course, this has to be a discussion about economics, because economics and energy are one and the same virtually. But we can't go to Amazon and buy nuclear reactors from China and get them delivered tomorrow like we can solar panels. So that's one of the things. I mean, yeah, but if I wanted to build, if I had money, wanted to build generational wealth, I think I might put my bucks in nukes. Yep. And if people, were afraid of what 3 Mile Island and these absolute microscopic blips in the overall scheme of things, then how can they drive by these bloody car accidents every day and still get in a car? Don't ask me.
Doug.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with everybody. I don't know if they know it, but when I started with NSP, they had a nuclear plant in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Pathfinder, and that was what NSP built before they built Monticello and Prairie Island, and they ended up shutting that one down. And had a few issues in trying to get it stabilized and everything, but I think that went down in 1967. But they did have a reactor out there for a number of years, so it was like a predecessor to these other ones, and it gave them enough faith that they went ahead and built the ones they have now.
Yeah, there have been others too. I think it was Elk River had a nuclear power plant for a while.
Yeah,
It actually went through a few phases. It ended up as burning waste matter or something like that.
RDF. Yep.
But it was closed down about 6 years ago, I think.
Yep, that's true. Yep.
And there was one in Wisconsin, not too far across the border. It was La Crosse. I can't remember where. But...
NSP started one over in Wisconsin and then ended up shutting it down.
Yeah.
Which was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah. Okay, so let me get back to my bring up this. So I want to share. I really kind of need 2 screens here.
It's helpful, isn't it?
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about SMRs, small modular reactors, as well as thorium and fusion. Start with SMRs first, which were mentioned in this last video. So as I mentioned, all the current reactors that we have, 90 some of them, are all produce over 500 megawatts of electricity. SMRs, by definition, are anything under 300 megawatts of electricity. And there are even some called microreactors that are under 20 megawatts of electricity.
I'm sorry, Tom. Could you get more full screen and on the videos also? I'm a very visual guy.
Okay.
But just if it's not easy, then don't worry about it.
Is that better? I'm trying to see to get this.
Well, no, that's very readable, even without.
Yeah, that's even better, right?
Yeah,
That's perfect. There you go.
great.
Better than 90% of presentations.
Somehow it went back to my.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So, I was talking about SMRs. So they're small. I have another video to show about, part of what it's about is what China's been doing in this area. And they've been making a fair amount of progress with SMRs.
And then, I'm sorry, but when you do the video, can you get rid of all the YouTube ad stuff on the side and go more full screen?
Yeah,
I'll send you Duck Player because I never see any of that garbage.
Okay.
But that's just me.
Anyway, the SMRs have lower output than typical nuclear power plants, and they're designed to be modular. In other words, they're built off-site, and they can be assembled on site. So that presumably they would be cheaper. That really hasn't been proven yet in because they're still kind of in the early stages, but there's potential for them to be easier to construct, and they have other features that make them simpler and perhaps safer. So, yeah, I want to do this next video here. So this will be another 10 minutes or so.
Tom, what's the output of a reactor that's on a nuclear sub or a aircraft carrier compared to a small nuclear reactor?
Well, that's a lot different from the ones that we have right now. I don't know, but it's much smaller. I don't know how many megawatts of electricity would produce. You don't need really a lot of megawatts.
Not to float a boat.
Mostly it's used, I think, to drive engines rather than produce electricity. It's probably some combination. Okay.
I think it's hybrid. You know, there's batteries and yada yada, and who knows what. Yeah, they won't tell us.
Oh yeah, that's secret. Was it Rickenbacker who kind of ran that program?
Yeah, he started it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been a very safe and successful program, by the way, nuke subs for every country, pretty much, I believe.
Because Rick over.
Well, there was that.
The role of nuclear power can be a divisive subject, but it's one worth talking about because the next generation.
Okay, I want to bring this one up now.
Stan, the ones on the Navy ships are between 500 and 700 megawatts, they said.
I just looked it up. I'm going to post it to the chat. It says around 200 megawatts of the thermal power. I'm going to take this and post it in chat.
Yeah, 500, 700 megawatts is pretty good size.
Nuke boats are big these days.
Okay, can everyone see this? Let me get back to.
Now, click on that blonde on the upper right-hand corner. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know why she's there, but
I don't know either, but yeah.
I generally don't click on those things.
I don't want to go down those rabbit holes.
Let's see. Okay, next.
Looks like she's at Lowe's. Maybe go there.
Yeah, I see a couple hands up. Dean?
Yeah, I got my out. Yeah. So you continue to raise your bar, Thomas Walsh, and this is good stuff. And I'm assuming that Meetup has these videos, but I've got enough out of
I
this.
didn't list them on there. I kind of list them here as you see.
Yeah. And I think we're still recording. Don't tell Stan. So I can probably go back and, yeah, no, this is good stuff. Even with the Uranium Royalty Corp, U Corp, I'm going to buy stock. Yeah, yeah, this, I mean, there is so much involved in this. The twists and turns of economics versus long-term, short-term. But when I saw what China, so maybe pretty soon we can go on Amazon and buy these SMRs from Mao Zedong or whatever his name is today.
Yeah, I don't know. But there's certainly a lot of interest in them,
You
especially
trust them not to sabotage it?
especially for the data farms.
Uh,
Yeah, for the data centers. Stan, you have a
I have 2 points. One of them is I think I've seen some discussion about SMRs using well, one of the issues with SMRs hasn't been discussed yet, and that is the corrosiveness of the molten salts with their containment. And that I think have always been kind of a challenge. The other one is if you make SMRs in a factory, you know how it is in factories, they try to reduce cost, and sometimes they cut corners by using less than high quality materials, and that could be an issue. The other thing about SMRs is that they do produce a waste that has a smaller time to to dissipate or whatever.
Degrade, yeah.
Degrade, but they can also be used for a lot of that waste can be used in medical facilities for PET scans or what some of the scanning processes uses the waste material from nuclear reactors.
Yeah, in fact, I know when I was working at Fermilab, some of the stuff that came out of there was used for medical purposes. Anyway, couple more. Doug?
Yeah, I just wanted to share the fact that there's like 3 states that are looking at allowing data centers to come in, and they're looking at putting a enforcement on it that they have to use renewable energy, and that's California, New York, and Connecticut. So they're, which to me has been like a dream come true, because I've always thought, man, to have renewables powering data centers would just make so darn much sense. And so it wouldn't affect the rest of the grid so much. So anyway, those 3 states are on the move on that already.
Yeah, we've got to remember though that uranium is not a renewable resource. So there are a couple other technologies though that I'm going to get into for nuclear power. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, a couple of things. You remember the Palantir that I gave a brief glimpse of in at least their defense sector last week? Well, their civilian sector called Foundry is now contracted with the nuclear company, which is the biggest, I think it's the biggest American company that actually builds reactors. And it,
I thought it was Westinghouse.
yeah, pardon?
I thought it was Westinghouse, but I could be wrong.
Oh, maybe, yeah, I don't know. I thought Westinghouse broke up and, I don't know. Anyway, they partnered with them to develop something called the Nuclear Operating System, which is to significantly accelerate their construction by addressing chronic issues. I'm reading off the Grok's output. Delays like delay costs and cost overruns, and then and I gave a couple of links to that partnership to their web pages. And then also I asked Grok 4, which just came out yesterday and I'm excited about yesterday or today. And I wanted to give it a spin. And I put up a link I asked how much Palantir could likely reduce the cost of production and the timeline of construction of nuclear reactors. And I'll just read I got a great page and a half or so, as good as it could without a lot of historical data. but it says, like the outcome, it's could reduce construction times by 20 to 40% for large-scale reactors from 10 years to about 6 to 8 years by optimizing workflows, supply chains, and compliance. The estimate is based on the platform's promised capabilities and comparisons to historical delays. For small modular reactors, SMRs, which are inherently faster to build, the impact could be even more pronounced, potentially enabling 4 to 5 year timelines. However, without operational data from no nuclear operating system driven projects, these figures are an educated guess. The $100 million 5-year deal suggests a long-term commitment to refining the system with initial results likely visible by 2030. So that's fantastic, right? If they can lop 20 to 40% off the construction timelines, it could actually be competitive with China.
Yeah, that for SMRs, that's not going to happen soon. There's still a lot of development that has to go into them, but it has potential.
That could reduce that even more, it says, on the 4 or 5 year timelines.
Yeah.
But yeah, try out Grok 4. Let me know what you think. I haven't had time, there hasn't been time to find any reviews yet, but I'm really hopeful. I hope he beats the hell out of that weasel, Sam Altman. Well, he's not worse than a weasel. He's just maybe one of the #1 dangers to humanity. If reckless pursuit of superhuman intelligence without any regard for the safety.
Yeah.
It's just terrifying. I hope he gets somebody stops him.
Yeah, some of the biggest
Elon's the only one I can who might.
Some of the biggest pushers of developing these SMRs are the Googles and the people like that who are building these huge data centers, and they want to have SMRs to run them.
Yeah, sure. It's
Dean, do you have something new or?
Well, no, something to add. So that was my point. Somebody mentioned that, hey, well, where SMRs are the hot thing because Silicon Valley needs trillions, not billions. And so we're going to get the crumbs from that. And that could be a good thing, as in technology filters down to the unwashed masses eventually, maybe. But yeah, yeah, the data centers is the whole impetus for renewing nukes and all that. And if there's a positive spin-off for actual people and their actual lives, then I'm all for it.
I do want to mention one more thing about SMRs before I move on, and that is the waste problem. Right now, the waste is handled in a very secure manner because you don't want it falling into the wrong hands. And so you have waste being shipped to wherever it's going to be buried using very secure procedures. If you have hundreds or even thousands of these SMRs out there, you're going to have nuclear waste material being shipped all over the place. And that creates a vulnerability, I think, in the system so that we have to worry about.
Good point. The shoebox that I'll create in my lifetime will be spread out over the, yeah, very good point.
So having a whole bunch of little fission reactors has its drawbacks. And that's one of them. Now, there are other kinds of nuclear reactors that aren't fission, that don't, well, let's put it this way, they don't use U-235 or plutonium-239. And I want to get into those. And the next one is thorium. Okay, I think most of you are somewhat familiar with thorium reactors, but I'm not sure if you realize that it's not thorium that is fissile. That's not what undergoes fission in order to produce the energy. It's a breeder reactor. So what you're creating in this breeder reactor is uranium. but it's not U-235. So I'm going to get into some of the details of that. Here's kind of a crude little chart. Can you see this this little diagram that I drew here?
We're seeing the blonde still.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I thought
I've already got her zoomed up and saved as my wallpaper. So
seeing the blonde because it says I'm sharing. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, let me stop sharing that and go into this other one. That's what it was. I didn't stop sharing that.
and I'm kidding, Carol.
Okay, now are you seeing the right
Me
thing?
specifically, or
Weasel.
Yeah,
All of the above.
are you seeing the right thing now?
Yeah,
thorium fusion? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm talking about SMR's thorium and fusion, and right now we're on to thorium. So this is how a thorium breeder reactor works. You start out with thorium-232. Thorium has 90 protons in the nucleus. You hit it with a neutron, and it becomes thorium-233. Okay, instantly, right? It absorbs the neutron. But in 22 minutes, a half-life of 22 minutes, it'll decay.
Where does the neutron come from?
I'll get into that in just a minute.
Other thorium atoms.
No, well,
No.
The reaction does have to be started with uranium-235 or plutonium-239. But it doesn't have to be sustained by those. That's where the first bunch of neutrons comes from. The thorium-233 has a half-life of 22 minutes. It's not very stable. The half-life of a free neutron is a little over 10 minutes. Well, the nucleus of a thorium atom doesn't add much to that stability. So it decays to what's it, I'm trying to remember what PA stands for.
Good Lord, it's not palladium.
No,
Oh,
I had it on the tip of my tongue there, but
oh, yeah, I forgot.
Not plutonium.
no. It's
Uh,
a protactinium. Yeah, that's what it is.
that one, yeah.
It's called protactinium because it depending which isotope you're looking at, some isotopes of protactinium decay to actinium. So this is like a precursor to actinium. So anyway, the thorium decays
That's how I got
to
the A, huh?
protactinium-233. And protactinium-233 will then decay with a half-life of 27 days to uranium-233. And uranium-233 is fissile. If you bombard it with a thermal neutron, that means one that's not moving very fast, it will fission. So this is basically the cycle. The U-233.
Where does the second neutron come from?
We're getting there. The U-233 fissions and produces 2 or 3 neutrons while it's doing that. And these 2 or 3 neutrons then can be used to feed the thorium reaction at the beginning to start that cycle over, but it also can be used to bombard the uranium-233 to cause it to fission. And that's where the energy comes from the fission of the U-233. Okay, I'm going to play a video now that might explain it a little better in a more visual type of detail, but yeah, I hope you get the idea. The problem with this is a matter of timing. You can't bombard the contents of this container of thorium with a whole bunch of neutrons and hope it's gonna work, because it will not have decayed to uranium-233 for another 27 days. And that's you don't, so you won't get any fission energy out of it for right away. So are there any questions about that? That will be explained a little better in the video upcoming. So why don't I just get onto that?
And every H bomb requires an A bomb as a detonator, I believe. Still today, probably.
Yeah, you need the heat to start the fusion reaction. Okay, back here now and share. Okay. Let me get this started, and I think I'll be able to make it bigger once I get started. So I want to make sure you all got that. There is waste products coming out of this thorium breeder cycle, but it's very little of the transuranic elements, ones heavier than uranium, which are the problematic ones.
Yeah, thank you for that. I've heard for years about but I never heard the technical details of why thorium is good. Thank you.
That's the best I've ever seen. It's the best description I've ever seen of the challenge of the waste.
Yep, and put in human terms. Yeah.
Now he's just getting into something that another thing that can get created here is the uranium-234. There's another one. Was it the uranium-234 or the titanium? That does produce a lot of gamma rays, so it's very radioactive. So it makes this material hard to handle. There's a lot of safety features you have to go in when you want to handle that material, when you want to extract stuff from it or whatever. So it's not without its own problems, but it doesn't have these 10,000-year radioactive elements coming out of it, at least not in a much smaller volume. So that's thorium. Any questions?
I just Googled that protactinium, trying to figure out where the name came from, was originally called brevium because of its brief half-life.
Yes, because of brief half-life.
Yep.
But they soon realized that at least one or two of the isotopes decayed to actinium, so they called it protactinium.
Ah, thank you. Got it. Protoactinium.
Right. It's interesting. You look at the transuranic, the elements in that part of the table. You have, let's see, you have thorium, named after Thor, who was the Norse equivalent of Jupiter. Okay, so you have the planet Jupiter. Then you have protactinium. That doesn't fit in this scheme. But next comes uranium, the planet Uranus. And then you have plutonium, the planet Pluto. So there's a naming convention that was going on there in that part of
For sure.
the periodic table. So I thought just that was interesting.
So where does earthium come in? I'm wanting to know I didn't see any discussion about the challenge of corrosion with containing
No, yeah, they didn't talk specifically about the molten salt. That's
corrosion.
one type of reactor you could use, but that's not the only. For example, some use light water and things like that. But the corrosion comes with the molten salt type of reactor. Yes.
What's the idea of using the putting thorium around the container of a light water reactor? Is that a modification that you can use to extend the life of light water reactors?
I don't know where the thorium would go. I got the impression from the video that it would be inserted like as in rods or something like that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and by the way, I feel this worrying about 10,000 years ago, 10,000 years from now, where this is so utterly, insanely optimistic for the human race.
Yeah, well, we just don't want a whole lot of radioactive material lying around.
Well, I don't understand why it's a problem. They've got.
H-Tom, you have your hand up.
Uh,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're just muted. So anyone else have his hand up?
okay, I'll put
You
my
have a
hand up.
question, Eric?
Yeah, I don't know why the long-term storage would be a problem. They've got old mines, used up mines 2 miles deep there in South Africa that they can't go down any deeper because it's too hot for people. Well, couldn't they just put those up and seal, shielded containers and drop it down there? It's not an earthquake zone. I don't know what's going to go wrong.
Well,
2
you never
miles
know. 10,000 years is a long time. It could be water, there could be earth moving or something. You never
deep, 2
know.
miles deep. I'm not going to worry. I don't think we should need to worry about it.
Dean,
I think that risk is so minuscule. There's the one in Nevada, blah, 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 which become a political football. But yeah, there are ways to reduce that risk to practically zero. I'll take that.
H-Tom?
Yeah. Long time ago, I proposed taking such radioactive waste, putting them in a rocket, and just shooting them into the sun, which started a huge conversation about what would happen to these things if you did that.
What if the rocket blows up on the way?
No.
Yeah.
We're going to assume that we've made it to the orbit of Mercury and we're going into the sun with this radioactive material.
Okay, Elon Musk.
It sounds like a very expensive way to collect.
Yeah.
Payload.
Okay. I'm gonna try to bring up my PowerPoint here again. You have to get out of here. Okay. So we learned about thorium. Now I just want to go over some of the advantages and disadvantages. These have been gone over a little bit in the video, but basically thorium's 3 times more abundant than uranium, and it doesn't have to be purified. I mean, uranium is over 99% of it is U-238, which is stable, is U-235, which is fissile that we need for reactions, and that's less than 1% of the uranium. And plus thorium is more abundant than uranium to start with. It's cheaper to mine. It doesn't need to be enriched, which I was just talking about. It's you can make it, since it does produce a fissile material, the U-233. You can make bombs out of it, but it's not that suitable, especially if you have some uranium-232 lurking around in there, which can contaminate the U-233 because that also produces particles that can mess things up and add to the radioactivity. The nuclear waste that comes out of this cycle is has fewer transuranics, so it doesn't have the elements that are heavier than uranium, and so you end up with a nuclear waste that's much shorter lived and half-life of 100 years or less generally. So you're not going to have stuff sitting around that can be dangerous for a long time. All this nuclear waste, if it's fissile material, will decay and produce radioactivity. So if you don't want it building up, you don't want stuff that's going to last a long time. As I mentioned, some U-232 is produced, and that's the stuff that is radioactive and producing gamma rays, which are very energetic photons, basically, and that makes it hard to handle. So that's one drawback. Other disadvantages of thorium, right now, there are high startup costs. Huge investments are needed to make a thorium nuclear power reactor, and it's still basically in the development stage. China has created one, that molten salt one, but there's not much out there yet. They're pretty much all on the drawing board. So investors really don't know at this point if they should invest in it or not. So it has promise, but the promise has not been realized yet. And it probably won't be for well over a decade. So, but people are working on it, and it may be an important development. Okay, I want to get on to my final topic. There's only 20 minutes left. Fusion. Kind of a big topic, so I'll try to get through it as fast as I can. Here we go. Okay, fusion has, I guess you could call it, two main problems. One is getting the fusion reaction going, that's igniting it, starting it, and then containing and maintaining these super hot plasmas that get created. And another is getting more energy from the reaction than you have to put into it to ignite it and keep it going. Until very recently, no one's been able to do either of those things. But there has been recent progress. In fact, in the current issue of Scientific American, which came out, I think, 2 days ago, it mentioned these 3 points that I'm going to talk about here. In 2022, at the NIF near San Francisco, there was a successful fusion ignition, so 2.5, 3 years ago. And that used inertial confinement. In other words, basically they zapped a pellet of deuterium and tritium with 192 giant lasers all in the same instant, and that ignited it. So it for a short time, it gave off more energy than it consumed. And that's been improved since, but that was the first time they were able to do that, 2022. That's one method, zapping it with lasers. Other methods, one was at JET, the Joint European Torus Fusion Reactor, which is a tokamak reactor. And I'll get into what that is in a minute. That was able to ignite and create this very hot plasma and achieved a containment time up to 60 seconds. It used to be, you know, it was gone in a flash. Now they can maintain these 100 million degree plasmas for a minute or so, which is a big leap. In Germany, the Wendelstein 7X, which is not a tokamak, it's a stellarator, that set a record last May by bottling up the plasma for 43 seconds, which isn't quite as long as what the tokamak achieved, but it had a plasma three times the volume of the jet's plasma. So there's good progress being made there. We're getting closer to a sustainable fusion reaction that yields more energy than is required to start and to maintain it. Now, what a tokamak is it's a device that contains the plasma that's created by inducing a powerful electric current inside the plasma, which takes the shape of a donut. And that makes this donut more magnetic and prevents it from striking and damaging the walls of its container, the reaction chamber. So that's how they contain it, by actually magnetizing it. A stellarator uses external magnets. A stellarator uses superconducting magnets to contain the plasma. And it doesn't need to magnetize the plasma itself. The result is that the plasmas and stellarators tend to be more stable than within their magnetic bottles than the tokamaks ones are. So basically they're confining something very hot with something very cold. Superconducting magnets are cooled down to close to absolute zero. So now we're getting closer to a sustained fusion reaction that yields more energy than is required to start and to maintain it. 60 seconds is pretty long. One of the problems is that the fuel is pellets of deuterium and tritium. Deuterium is fairly plentiful. You can get that out of seawater. Tritium is not plentiful. So what they've been learning to do is use these reactors as kind of a breeder to breed tritium. And I'm getting to that in just a minute. Well, I guess I'll get into it now. It's right on the bottom of this this slide. Okay, deuterium is H2. It's a proton and neutron in the nucleus. Tritium is a proton and two neutrons. So when you combine a deuterium atom with a tritium atom, you get two protons and three neutrons. Well, two protons makes it a helium atom. And if you shoot off one of the neutrons, you get helium-4, normal helium, two protons and two neutrons in the nucleus, plus that extra neutron. And that's where all the energy comes from. The problem of lack of tritium needed for this kind of fusion. The reason deuterium tritium combination is favored is because it requires a lower temperature compared to other fusion reactions that we know about, such as deuterium-deuterium. You can create a helium atom, you can fuse two deuteriums into a helium atom, but you have to have 3 times the temperature, 300 million degrees Celsius instead of 100 million. And that makes it much harder to start the reaction and to contain it and maintain it. So it's the deuterium-tritium fusion is more achievable with the current technology that we have. Plus that extra neutron can turn out to be useful, which I'll get into. So you have this extra neutron and a lot of energy coming off when you fuse deuterium and tritium. Okay, now when you use this kind of fusion, you have this neutron coming off, which has a lot of energy to it. And if you have a blanket of lithium-6 surrounding this plasma, these neutrons can collide with the lithium-6 and convert them into tritium through a breeding process. This heated blanket can also transfer its thermal energy to a heat exchanger and generate electricity using that heat, to drive a steam turbine, similar to what they do in fossil fuel plants or conventional fission plants. So this is a breeding process that can create tritium, which can then be used to produce more fuel to power this reaction further. But tritium is very rare in nature. Basically, it has to be created. We have to breed it.
So there's two outputs of power from the same reactor?
Yeah, you can, well, yeah. You can get heat out of this lithium blanket and heat from the plasma itself. And I don't know the technology, if they're able to harness all that very well or not. But, so here's basically the potential benefits and challenges of fusion. It is a clean energy source. It's cleaner than fission. It doesn't have these transuranic elements with, 10,000 years of radioactivity. And it's minimal or near zero greenhouse gas emissions. These reactions are inherently safe because they don't produce long-lived radioactive waste, as I said. Deuterium is fairly abundant. As I said, you can get it from seawater. And the tritium can be bred from lithium. That's the main way we have of producing it now. If you're going to have reactors that produce a lot of energy, a gigawatt or something, 1,000 megawatts, like some of the fission reactors can now, that's going to take a lot of tritium. So we have to be able to breed a lot of it. So that's probably at this point one of the main limiting factors for doing this, besides the technology to maintain and contain the fusion reaction longer than we can right now. So technological challenges, which I just mentioned: confining the plasma, maintaining the high temperature, developing materials that can withstand the extreme conditions of the reactor, to contain it and confine the plasma without anything leaking out that shouldn't. So economically, you have the cost of building and operating these fusion power plants, which seems to be what determines how anything gets done. Whether people think they can get out of it at least what they put into it, if not make a profit. So there's more R&D needed to bring down the costs. Did I go the right way? Yeah. Okay, I think I did that already.
Yeah. Dean has his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, I want an opinion. So I've been hearing about fusion for 70 years now. So
Yeah,
had,
it's always been 30 years off. That's the joke.
exactly. But I want your valued opinion. Had we somehow or another managed back then and then and then to put resources into that, do you think that 30 years would be now be 15 or 10 or 5?
Well, that's hard to say. I think that we probably could have put more resources into it, and that might have sped up development and what we are learning about how to ignite and maintain these reactions.
Yeah, we were all excited in San Diego because GA, General Atomic, was putting real bucks. They were getting all of us very excited, but apparently those dollars ran out. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, a lot happened over the last 5 years. Which
Oh,
we
GA
had
goes
some-
back to the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So I thought I had a video about this, but I don't see it. Okay, I'm on slide 21. So potential benefits and challenges. I think I went through this already too. I see one question from Stan.
If there's a need for lithium to tritium production, how does that affect? And there seems to be a push to develop more resources for lithium because of the lithium-ion battery needs. Do those two commercial events help to kind of assist each other along the way?
Not to mention the psychotics that need lithium, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I hadn't heard that there's any kind of relationship there that lithium for batteries will help develop lithium for these fusion reactors. But it's possible, I suppose. Now the question is, we need lithium-6 for these, and I'm not sure if that's exactly the one that's being used in the batteries.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I had one more video, but it's 5:2 anyway, so it wouldn't be time to show it. So I want to go on to this last slide here. So in summary, SMRs, thorium, and fusion, there's large-scale implementation of any of these technologies is more than a decade off. They're all under development, and I'm pretty encouraged about the progress that's been made in fusion in just the last year or so. But fusion still is probably at least 20 years off before we can implement these on that technology on a large scale. So maybe the world will look pretty different in 20 years. I don't know. So I have a question for you. Of these 3 forms of nuclear power, leaving out for the moment the kind of nuclear power that we currently have, the fission with the U-235 and the large reactors, which would you say is the best solution for our needs? How many like SMRs? Dean and Stan? Okay, a couple. How about thorium? I don't see it. Oh, well, maybe H. Tom.
Maybe.
And fusion. Well, I think I like fusion the best, although that's probably the farthest off.
That's the furthest off.
But it has the best potential, I think, for being the a good solution.
Exactly. It's you do the portfolio just like investments. Yep, I agree. All three are okay.
Okay, all of a sudden we have a whole bunch of hands up.
What is the status of ITER? Is that still being pushed, or it seems like it's kind of floundered.
You
That's
stated
the
the what? I didn't hear that.
ITER, ITER, the Southern. Is it still being? Is it being? I know they have tons of money they poured into it, but it seems that the outcome seems to be relatively irrelevant now for some reason.
Yeah, let's see. I ran across that in some of the stuff I was looking at, but
Can you translate ITER in 4 words for me?
International something. It was the largest. It was considered to be the largest human project next to CERN regarding the development of
Gotcha.
fusion energy.
yeah, it's for fusion power.
It's a huge tokamak reactor.
Breeding tritium, is that what they're doing with it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone's working on DT reactions, deuterium tritium reactions, at this point.
Now the Stellarator is an interesting design because doesn't it have a spiral look to it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's well, and the tokamak is like a donut.
A toroid, correct? Like a
Yes.
Yep.
It's like a donut with a twist to it.
Yeah, for the Stellarator.
A Mobius donut. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so the geometry obviously is important too for containing this plasma, this 100 million degree plasma. Yeah, I can't find a whole lot about ITER. Let's see, latest news.
You just don't hear about it at all. And there's been huge quantities of cash gone into it. I'm sure that just if it doesn't even have an output, and they've always said that it never was really designed to be a production plant. It was more of a proof of concept for the idea of being able to break even, I guess, in a large format.
It looks like just recently, ITER awarded one of the most pivotal responsibilities of tokamak assembly to Westinghouse. Of course, Westinghouse has built a lot of the fission reactors that are in service right now, including the new ones. So it's not dead. There's still stuff going on. So Westinghouse, yeah, they're supposed to build a tokamak type reactor. Okay,
Eric,
I think the estimated time of arrival of fusion is going to be a lot faster than the 25 years currently, because it's perfect for these AI simulations, and the DeepMind's working on it, and their time and resources are so precious. The fact that they've chosen to work on that is highly encouraging alone. And of course, China's working on it. We don't know what they're going to do. They may come out of nowhere and beat DeepMind, but I think what the patent would be worth to I guess Google Alphabet.
Yeah, I think China, they're kind of leading in thorium, but I don't think they're leading in fusion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, AI is going to accelerate that. The doubling in power of time of AI is several. It doubles and then doubles again faster and faster each year now, and it's going to reach a total takeoff point. Almost, I hate to say, a singularity point where AI designs its own successors, the next generation of AI, and then it's just going to take off like a bat. So I'd say, assuming no nuclear war or AI doesn't wipe us out, much less than 20 to years, much less than 20 years.
Oh yeah, the next 20 years are going to be pretty pivotal for humanity, I think. So in more ways than one.
War with China and so on coming.
So my last question is how do you think these nuclear methods of creating energy compare to what we can, the renewable resources such as wind, hydro, solar, and so forth? I think my own opinion is that nuclear, especially fusion, has potential to be a huge producer of energy, and we're getting to the point where we get more energy out of it than we put into it, create the reaction in the first place. But it's also clean energy. So I think that's important.
Any idea how long they have to sustain a reaction to make it economical? You said they're doing it for over a minute now. How long would they have to do it?
Well, if you want to create a reactor that'll service people, it has to be able to run continuously.
Oh, would it? Or maybe it could stop for a while and then start up, periodically. I don't know if there's a reason.
Well, looking at the what was it, the ITR thing that I talked about earlier? Those 192 lasers that zapped the pellet 2 or 3 years ago to actually create the first ignition of fusion. It took 12 hours to charge up the lasers to do it, that one zap. The energy that came out of that one zap was more that was put into it, but it took 12 hours to do it. So we're still a long way of that continuous type of process.
Carol's had her hand up for a while, if I may moderate.
Okay, go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I am still enormously attracted to that giant fusion reactor in the sky, the one that's about 93 million miles away.
Yep. And it's very safe because it's so far away.
Which has a half-life, by the way.
Yeah, but I don't think we have to worry about the half-life of stellar evolution at this point.
We don't. Let's hope someone does.
However, I'm not sure anybody has looked at the relative development costs of sustainable fusion here on Earth as opposed to the relative development costs of solar power satellites, concentrating that fusion energy from the sun down to usable stuff on Earth. Has anybody, I mean, the one thing I find really attractive is that with fusion on Earth, we're still waiting for technological breakthroughs. Whereas doing it in space, we're not waiting on technological breakthroughs. It's strictly a matter of doing the engineering. And, I think you have to look at the possibility of doing your engineering not from Earth, where you build the satellite and launch it into geosynchronous orbit, but building it on the moon, from local materials, and then launching it into geosynchronous orbit.
Well, the moon
I
is
would
a smaller
really like
gravity,
to
though.
see a cost breakdown.
And the cost would be $100 billion per megawatt. I don't know.
Yeah, to establish a base on the moon, well, we're talking about doing that now, but that's not gonna be cheap in itself.
But once you've established it, it's self-sustaining. You don't have to keep launching stuff from Earth for your moon base.
Well, assuming you can grow, is it gonna be run by robots or by people? If you need people up there, that takes a lot of stuff to support living people.
Oh, you're going to use hydroponics for your oxygen generation. You know, you're once you've got a solid base there, it's pretty self-sustaining.
Thank you,
And
Walt. Thank you, Walt Disney.
Well, it's not an impossible thing, but it's not
Not at all.
it's not gonna happen in the next couple of decades, let's put it that way.
right. But what I am suggesting is let's start looking at the relative costs of throwing a few $1 trillion into fusion development on Earth versus throwing a few $1 trillion into building fusion power from space.
Or giving tax cuts to trillionaires.
Blah, 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 blah.
I
Yeah,
know that's it. What four words? Yeah, I would like to answer Tom's question if you're done, Carol.
okay, you don't want to answer my question? You want to
Well,
answer?
I want to think about your question, as I have been thinking about your question. But
Tom, can you get rid of that screen?
Which one? The one
The-
I'm sharing from
stop
the-
sharing. Stop sharing.
okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
Thank you.
There, now I can see all of our beautiful faces. Yeah, so what I've learned since I've studied this stuff as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, is that I don't think anyone doubts that fusion is the long-term answer. Define long-term, you tell me. And will it be the long term that humans still exist? I hope so. But I believe fusion
Okay,
ultimately,
and you are talking about fusion on Earth
right, because
as
then
opposed from
ultimately
solar power
we
fusion.
could float around without our beloved sun. You know, I'm thinking billions of years, or I don't know what the half-life is.
Okay, Larry Niven type stuff.
But in
Dyson spheres.
let's
Odds
say
of
in
God.
100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years,
Mm.
I think fusion, and I don't think this, well, I've absorbed this from people who think this, that fusion is ultimately always the long term. It's the nirvana. It's your holy grail, whatever. But so you keep an eye on that, and and you put resources into that, and one of which I'm not discounting Carol's.
You
Beam me
better
up, beam me up, Scotty from the moon. Stuff that's all doable, and it'll make Elon. What's after a trillionaire? It'll make Elon into a
Billionaire.
quadrillionaire, whatever the hell. Yeah. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's all good. So that's my answer. Yes, diversify your portfolio in
Well, I
the
understand
survival
that
of the human species and all the other 200 billion species on Earth.
I understand that the Chinese right now are seriously into the stages of creating in the next 20 years.
And that is my other issue with fusion. If China has not bought into fusion, then I'm thinking, gee,
Yes, but China
I
has
know they
bought
are smarter than
into,
we are. And
China has bought into solar power from outer
well,
space in a
yeah,
big way.
then maybe, yeah. And
And with like a 20-year horizon.
right. And well, they think in 20, 30, 50, 100-year plans. And I do hope and believe that we are hacking China's technology 10% as much as they are hacking us. And I hope and believe that I don't know about it, but somebody knows about it. And because we're pretty smart, I think they're smarter, maybe, sort of, kind of, but yeah.
Well,
So
I have this feeling, and it is, at this point, it doesn't have enough math behind it to be anything but a feeling. But I have the feeling that once we get serious bases on the moon and at the L5 points and, we're moving asteroids around, that type of stuff, we are going to get rid of the problem of sitting at the bottom of this gigantic gravity well. And it is going to make solar power from outer space look enormously more practical.
I love it. I'm going to shut up. Two people got their hands up.
Yeah. Tom, go ahead.
What entrances me about fusion is fusion's been around in science fiction for a long time.
It's been around since Edward Teller.
And in my first college physics class, I remember talking about this or asking about it. And I was told by the learned people sit down at the front of the blackboard that was a pipe dream. It was at least a century ago, further on. But of all of the energy things I've heard proposed, I mean, now that was 50 years ago, roughly. And now they're saying it's 25 years. It's coming faster
A little bit.
than we thought it could.
Yep.
Which is just absolutely astonishing.
Are you sure that we're not still in the fusion has been 20 years away for the last 70 years stage?
No, we're not.
Well, we're seeing real progress now, I think.
Yeah.
AI is going to help that.
My only problem with fusion is it seems like huge overkill. I mean, why do you need 100 million degrees to boil water?
Yeah.
If we can use it in a more efficient way, that would be better.
Before we can do much of though, we're going to have to do some serious work on beanstalks and maybe a ring around the Earth, because the atmosphere is a huge problem.
Again, forget about Earth.
I
You are manufacturing in space or on the moon where you're not at the bottom of this bloody gravity well.
The other thing I do worry
we're manufacturing now.
What I do worry about is that's a lot of heat that gets produced, and would it contribute to heating up the Earth if we do a lot of fusion here?
Well, but now wait a minute. I'm not at all sure that's true. I think you are taking heat that would have come to Earth anyway in a spread over a continent.
No.
And instead you are
I'm talking about
putting it in a very narrow beam.
Yeah, I'm talking about the fusion reactors now.
Fusion produces heat.
I thought we were still talking.
It's not pumping it around.
Yeah. Eric.
Yeah, I don't necessarily need to go to the moon to build a solar collector. Just Elon's got the cost of putting material in orbit down to $10 a kilo now, and I expect if he really tried, he could get it substantially even cheaper. Uh, and what's the cost of these nuclear reactors now? 10 or 15 billion?
Yeah, but
You'd get all you
Elon
have to
is
put up
talking,
build it in geosynchronous orbit, or he needs a big
Elon is
and
talking real
a
low
generator,
Earth
a turbine.
orbit.
How much does that weigh? And then beam the uh, electricity back to turbine the generator.
Elon's launch capability is all for low Earth orbit. And you want your bloody
Yeah, they need to be
Higher.
solar power collector in geosynchronous orbit.
Yeah, well, he could easily do that. I don't know what.
The cheap stuff is all going to low Earth
Once
orbit.
you got into low Earth, it's not that many more miles to geosynchronous. I mean, the gravity drops off, and
One
the
of the
atmosphere is
problems
gone,
is-
and so
Yeah.
it's not going to be that much more to get it into geosynchronous orbit.
Yes, it is.
What? How much? How much?
It's way up there. But one of the problems also is that low
Why?
Earth
gravity's dropping
orbit
off.
real estate is getting pretty crowded.
Yes.
You start
Yeah.
Oh,
beaming
yeah.
stuff- If you start beaming stuff down to Earth through that,
But by the way,
traffic jam
Amazon
in low Earth orbit, you can
Amazon
get
space
building up
strips are
hazards.
not space. They are near space. I've been at 48,000 feet in an airplane. Amazon only gets a little bit higher than that.
Yeah.
Ask Rock if I can get it out of here and ask him how much it would cost to get stuff into geosynchronous.
So yeah, there's lots of other possibilities, and one of those is beaming down collected energy using microwave beams to Earth.
Right. And the whole microwave beams to Earth thing is going to be highly dependent on mirrors. And it's hell of a lot cheaper and easier to build mirrors on the moon, big ones, than it is to build them on Earth and somehow boost them to geosynchronous orbit.
Build them in orbit.
22,300 miles is geosynchronous orbit.
If there's enough water on the moon to create
Well-
the rocket fuel.
And what about the ionization problem when you beam these microwaves down through the atmosphere? We don't know.
Wait a minute, what are you worried about?
I have heard about the
frequency of the
ionization of the atmosphere, and do we want to run that experiment on Earth in real
I
time?
mean, every time you have a thunderstorm with lightning, you're ionizing the atmosphere. I mean,
I'll give you that.
I just see it as a problem. I thought you were worried about the birds going through the beam.
I am worried about the birds going through the beam, but that's another problem.
Well, it has been pretty well determined it's not going to bother the birds because they're on a fly through.
I've
It
seen
might-
birds sitting
If
on
you were grazing cattle, right in the beam,
right,
be a
And-
problem.
and I've seen birds all the time sitting on 3 million volt whatever, and they're fine.
But they're sitting on one.
Yes.
Exactly.
A lot more birds
If they don't have a large wingspan, yeah.
a lot more birds get killed by running into tall buildings that are
Yes.
glass than get killed by wind generators.
Or cats.
Or well, I don't know. Cats kill a lot. I was thinking cats kill even more, but I'm not absolutely positive of that.
Did we all see the photo of the wind turbine blade that detached itself and flew across a highway? Landed on a highway?
I love it.
Didn't see that one.
Yeah. And
I
by the
did
way,
read a few months ago about a company that is developing a process to break down old used blades. I don't know,
Ah,
some acid bath or something like that to
Yep.
recycle them.
That would be a very good.
Recycling that,
Yep.
that stuff would be a big step.
I heard that too. And by the way, back in Minnesota on Culver Drive, 4801 Culver Drive, we had huge plate glass windows, and we killed more birds than our cats did.
Yeah.
But you are supposed to paste things on those windows so that the birds will avoid them.
Well, we didn't paste things on the windows because my mom wanted to see the world through those windows.
Well, no, I don't mean blank them out, but a little something the size of a bat, sporadically over the window. So your mom can see out just fine.
Trust
If
me,
the birdies say,
trust
oh,
me.
that's
I'm
not
sorry,
My mother
I'm-
cares more about birds than I do. And she did her best, but she said, oh, well, collateral damage.
Anyway,
don't put things on the windows that look like birds, because then you're going to get hit by hawks.
well, I've got to go, but do we know who's speaking next week? Anybody?
No, David seems to have disappeared. He's the one who knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what happened to David? I said hi to him on personal chat, but
Well, he was here for quite a while.
he was.
Yes. David is kind of unmistakable visually.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty quiet today.
Oh,
And when Tom Trice and David are online, I always wonder why my brother Gary is online, because he is a
Looks like him.
yeah. He's like a
Eric?
yeah, you got 22.5 million per metric ton to put stuff, rate with today's technology, you could put about a metric ton of material into orbit for 22.5 million. What is the cost to build
Theo
one?
or Geo?
Geosynchronous orbit.
You're sure?
Well, Brock Forrest, I guess, estimate. He did a couple of pages of calculations while you were talking, and that's what he came up with. And I'm sure he could do better if he put his mind to it. He's planning to build bigger ones, I think.
Not to mention the atmospheric pollution of launching all that shit from Earth, which you're not even considering. You're just considering the energy problem.
Well, how many tons does it take for a thin mirror? Remember, it's in zero gravity. It could be very thin. The mirror to collect the stuff. The solar energy doesn't have to be very heavy.
Yeah, I have been looking at the notion of to hell with solid mirrors, like stretched out mylar sheets as
Exactly, it would be all rolled up and then unfurled and assembled in orbit by probably robots.
as again a cheap mirror.
Well,
Here's an idea.
Now, what's one payload now? Tons? When he
Let's
put
clean up
five
all
years-
gotta
the
go.
space. Let's clean up all the space debris and
Yeah.
get a clean low Earth orbit, and then we'll start talking about it, right? Because
Hey,
right
Tom,
now,
I got to go too, and thank you so much for a great presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, thank you.
Very
Ted.
good, Tom.
ditto,
Yeah.
Tom.
You told me a lot of things I didn't know before, and I really appreciate that.
You reminded me of things I learned 40, 50 years ago.
Review every decade or so.
Yeah, but he has numbers.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I
yeah.
need to review. Those the fission.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.